Hi, it's Mike Stevenson here. So today we're going to have a quick look at the second of my little nugget videos around business activity monitoring with Serverless 360. So today we're going to look at conditions. This is my second demo. Now what we're going to do is, if you imagine I've got a logic app with some conditions in, and we're going to make a decision in the logic app and then take different activities depending on what happens. So if you imagine here I've got a logic app on the screen, I'm going to use Postman to trigger a message to it. The logic app will start, it'll make a decision, and then it'll do some subsequent work. Now if we think about what we might be doing here, this is a simple example, but in a real world logic app, sometimes you have a lot of condition shapes and things can get very nested, and before long the logic app becomes very difficult to read if it's a complex process. So when it comes to the supportability of that, if we can simplify the view of all of those different conditions and branches to give the support user a simplified view, that's really where it makes the integration solution easier to manage in the real world. So if we think about with Serverless 360 BAM, what we could do is inject the BAM checkpoint shape into parts of the process, and that can tell the BAM service when milestones have happened within that process, and that'll give you the ability to be able to project a simpler view of that process so you can understand what's happening. Now if we think about what the logic app might look like, so for this demo I've got the message comes in, we're going to start the transaction, do a checkpoint, and remember that the logic app here is cut down to really just focus on the conditions. There's probably in the real world going to be a lot of other shapes like variables, composers, calls out to other systems that would also be in this, but this is stripped down to just show the routes through the logic app and how they can be illustrated. So here I'm going to have a message is going to come in, I'm going to pass 2 bits of data in the JSON, so I'm going to pass a true or false for condition 1 and condition 2. So to show how this would work, if condition 1 was true, then we go over to the left here, we then come to the second condition, and then if condition 2 was true, we'd come right out at the bottom here. So there's a number of different ways you can go through this logic app depending on how you set the input data. Very quickly this logic app would become would have a lot in it, and it would be difficult to see exactly what's going on, so we want to present a simpler view of that. And with BAM we can create a view where we focus on just the decision points and the checkpoint milestones, so we know what's happening. So here we've got one where we've got stage 1, condition 1, etc, and we'll just show which of these shapes light up as we go through the process. So let's have a quick look in BAM now and see how we could do this. So let's start by having a look at our logic app. So here's the example logic app I've got that I've had sort of on the screen before. So the message will come in, we'll start the transaction, we'll do a checkpoint. There may be work between the start and the checkpoint if we've had calls out to other systems and things like that. Eventually we're going to reach condition 1, so we'll make a decision based on the true or false, and then let's say we go to condition 2b because condition 1 was false. We'll mark a checkpoint here before we do the condition if we want to. We'll do the condition and then we'll execute one of these 2 checkpoints, either stage 4 or 5 depending on the second decision point, and then finally we'll checkpoint at stage 6 at the end as we come out of the process. So in Serverless 360 we can use a business process over here, like my example, to represent what this would look like, so that you'll recognize this diagram of the slide just before. And when I configure this, I can set the various shapes, condition 1, etc, where that executes at and that kind of thing. Here I've got the stage 1 shape, I'm saying it's a logic app, and I can build my process up as I need to. Now when it comes to supporting the app, over in Serverless 360 here, if you look at my other screen, I can see the management of the logic app. I can check out how it's running stuff, but what we're going to do is go into the BAM section for it, and I'm going to trigger this off now. So I'm going to drag in Postman, So we've got Postman here, and I've got my JSON with condition 1 set to true and condition false set to false. We'll just change that to true for this example, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just trigger my logic app here, and we're going to jump back to Azure and just take a look at what happened there. So if we just refresh this, we should see we've got a new execution here, and you can see that the code came in, we executed the checkpoint shapes, we went down branch 2, so we went through branch 1 with true, went through condition 1 with true, getting myself all confused here. We went through condition 2 with true, and then we executed stage 2. So if we have a look in Serverless 360, so we should have went left on both of these conditions and then executed at stage 6. And if we check here, if we have a quick refresh, so we've got 1651. So we've got a couple of transactions have come through now, and you can see they've all completed. And so if we look through here, we've got we execute stage 1, go through the condition, goes through condition 2, comes out, and you can see that will be quite easy for a support operator to see what's happened, and we could have hidden all the complexity of what the user didn't really need to know about, because they, the underlying technical stuff, they just need to focus on the business milestones. We can choose on a shape, so down here we can have a look at the details and if there was any headers or things that were saved at when the checkpoint was executed. So let's have a quick look. If we go and run that again, and we'll change, say we'll change condition 1 to be false this time, and we'll run it again. And now we can see the most recent one at the top here. So we went to the right hand side this time on condition 1, so that was false. Then condition 2, we went true, and when you set these up, you can actually put labels on these as well if you want to. So we went through stage 4, stage 6. So that gives us a way of seeing that simpler view of that complex underlying logic app. So thanks for listening to that nugget today. This was demo number 2 in the BAM series for using business activity monitoring with logic apps.